Oh, ladies and gentlemen, come gather round, come gather round, come gather around. Today, we're going to be doing some exhaust on the 61 Chevy pickup out of some 4-inch frickin' sewer pipe and 4-inch straight through unmuffler. Let's go. So we actually have to go quite a ways back in time, like a couple of years ago, to show how I did all of this. Now, you can buy pre-bent elbows or U-bends or whatever for exhaust, but it's cheaper to buy a 10-foot length than it is to buy all the bends. So I bought a 10-foot length of, I think it's 403 stainless. You can get another type of stainless that's used often in exhaust is 304 stainless. 304 tends to stay shiny and doesn't oxidize anywhere near as much. The 403 is cheaper, welds a bit more like steel does, but it may still corrode. I don't know how much I care, but the costs on this truck are getting a little out of control for me. So I bought a length. And what you want to do is to do the pie cuts like this, you cut them at a 7.5 degree angle so that you have a 15 degree included angle on each pie cut that you do. And then, you know, you got one piece gives you 15 degrees, another one gives you 30, another one gives you 45, then you can get up to 90 and so on. So it does a really good job of helping you piece things together. The nice thing with the pie cuts is you can kind of corkscrew these things around to get them exactly where you need to be. It just takes for freaking ever. To prevent sugaring, I'm using Solarflex B on the inside. So I confess I didn't really think this all the way through. This is 4-inch exhaust pipe that needs to go through a 5-inch frame. I think I can squeeze a muffler in there. Although I'm told turbos make good mufflers. Nevertheless, I ain't 16 no more. So I got to cut a hole in there at a bit of an angle, and this thing's going to have to jog to try and clear the cross member and fit in a place where I can hook up a muffler. Wish me luck. So this part's kind of fun in a sense. Is I like the challenge of trying to find a solution to whatever twisted problem I've created for myself. Plasma cutter. This is the cheapest plasma cutter I could find on eBay at the time. I do enjoy it. It was like $150 way back in the day. And then I'm piecing this together to figure out, how am I going to do this? How much do I need to cut? I suspect this thing is probably going to rattle once it's going, but I do have polyurethane motor mounts. They're 4-link bar bushes, I guess, to hold the motor in place. I have a bracket on the downpipe to attach to a transmission bolt, bell housing bolt, and then I'm going to use some more rigid exhaust hangers in the back. That may or may not be an issue. Apparently stainless really expands when it's being run, heated up and cooled, so that may introduce some cracks. I don't know. I've never built stainless exhaust, so I'll fill you in a couple of years if this was totally a stupid move on my part. But trying to figure out how to make this work. And then, can I put this together is the big question. If later on in life I need to service this or change the muffler or, oh heck, assemble this after the whole thing is painted, can I physically get this piece in there? That's the question. This welding's a little bit more recent. We're doing, I'm backgassing it. You can see the black hose. I put a teed a second regulator onto my argon tank and using tin foil to cap the ends and poked a hole into one end, and I can fill it full of argon, let it sit for a little bit. Not sure I see a huge difference between argon or solar flux, but it's certainly more convenient. Then I got the family to help move the car because, oh man, old man muscle is letting me down on this one. I ended up bending 2 of my car dollies, which I had to reinforce. But I got it over from where I was painting it over to the hoist so I can work on the underside of the vehicle. Looks like I am working on more of the exhaust. These videos may or may not be in order. But backgassed for sure. That's kind of slick. Use a silicone hose if you can, unless you enjoy the smell of burning rubber. So, probably overcooking my stainless. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really worried. As long as it doesn't crack, I don't really care. Want to be careful with grinding and getting stainless really hot. Apparently it gives you off hexavalent chromium or something, which does pretty nasty things to you. So look into that before you spend a career doing stainless. And to cap the ends, just because I'm cheap, tin foil. I just pack them into a little puck, stuff it in the end, poke a hole through it for the hose to go through, let it sit for a little bit while it fills up with gas, and there you go. I bought 2 of these stainless exhaust hangers from Summit Racing, and one should have been a lot longer. So this one is out of a piece of, or the bracket itself, I cut out of some scrap stainless I had lying around, and made it fit the crazy urethane bushings that came with the stuff from Summit. I think I'll give you a tour of the exhaust all assembled so you can see what's going on there. If you're doing a seizure while you're watching this, sorry, I've got the pulser on to help try to control heat and get some good penetration without burning too hot. Still probably burnt it too hot. Don't really care. I do care, but not enough to worry about it. So, yeah, if you find yourself flopping around, think of me. This piece is actually the tailpipe. When I was doing the bed, I took a 5 or 6 inch scallop cut out of the inside of the underside of the bed, inside where the fender goes, so I can have this thing poking out. I can't fit the exhaust out the back of the vehicle because of a rear-mounted gas tank, air ride suspension, X in the frame, and all of that. So this is going to puke right in front of the wheel, inside the fender. Crazy shot looking up at the back. You can see the gas tank. That's out of a roughly early 90s S10. The black cylindrical tank is the air ride, and the exhaust has to puke through this side. I only have 4 inches between the axle tubes and the bottom of the bed. The bed boards are Trex composite, and I'm a little hesitant in getting exhaust too close to the plastic boards in case they melt. This case will work pretty good. Drive shaft is by Bears Performance out of Ontario. And you'll notice the orange filter. Yeah, it's a Fram. You'll be okay. This is a commercial fuel filter for an Isuzu, I think. Then we've got the tailpipe looking about the way I want. I'm cutting it flush with the bottom of the fender so it's not as visible. I also have my shop vac sucking onto a funnel to try and suck the fumes and dust out of that air that I'm breathing. I will be building a downflow welding and grinding bench at some point, so look for a video on that. And sanding it, belt sanding it, make it nice and smooth, do the edges, and then we'll trial fit this and see how it looks. I can stick my whole freaking arm up there. There's the bracket that I made with the hardware that the stainless, the Summit one was. Here's all my pie cuts with little jogs to get it around the suspension to clear the frame, make sure the suspension can go all the way up. And then a reinforcement I put on the back brace just to put some rigidity back in. A little jog that you saw earlier. A lot of band clamps. One time at band clamp, my exhaust fell apart. And then we got the two, while the driver's side scooches over to the passenger side. I forget what they call that. And then, because this pipe is pretty close to the floor, and transmission cooler lines, and the starter, and the electric motor for the heater, because that's in the engine compartment, I thought it wise to put some header wrap in here. So this is titanium colored wrap, and I used a 50-foot length to do this whole tube. They say it works better if you get her soaking wet. So down below, you don't really see it, is I just soaked it all in a 50 or 20-liter pail, and as I roll the stuff through, I just send it back into the bucket to get it wet again. So if you ever done insulation before, you know what this is going to feel like. It's like fiberglass. It's not something you really want on your skin. However, a fair bit of arguing and wrestling to get this thing all the way through, at least up as far as I could. I think we talk a little bit on my wheel alignment video about a hole in the inner fender where the exhaust pipe pokes through. That got closed up, sealed and painted and prettied, and here we are doing the header wrap up to the turbo itself. The turbo blanket came from Summit. It's a DEI kit. It came with a length of wrap for the downpipe, but only 15 feet, which can really only do on a 4-inch pipe something like 27 inches of pipe, which isn't enough. So I ordered up this, preferred this color over the DEI black that this thing came with. This is more titanium. I think it looks classy. And I found doing the clamps that hold these together, if you pull on it with a pair of pliers, or even better, use a pair of pliers and like a pry bar to reef on them or pry against each other. I don't know, to get the thing super, super tight. Then I misestimated my math and cut too big of a piece for the blow-off valve, not blow-off valve, wastegate pipe, but whatever. I'll use this somewhere else for sure. And so wrapping that all up nice and neat too. The green tape covers an oil fill cap that has a dash, oh man, I don't know, 3/4 inch hose that's going to feed probably to a, oh, what are they? Oil separator or catch can, and then go to the inlet filter. Just haven't fabricated that yet. The turbo blanket uses some stainless wire to kind of pull it together so it doesn't come off easily. You don't need to reef on it and wreck it, but it just helps it stay on the turbo without coming off. Also, that gets you pretty scratchy if you're handling that thing too. Anyways, I think I like the way it looks. I think it'll work. So, we got fancy 4-inch sewer pipe exhaust from the back of this turbo, heat shielded, wrapped all the way down to under the cab. And everything goes through a 4-inch Magnaflow straight through muffler to this sexy tailpipe puking out in front of the back tire inside the step side fender. What's it sound like? I don't know. Got to make the engine run first. So check back in and see how we're doing, because this project ain't done yet. Okay? As always, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you again.